Hola.
Hey Dave, how's it going?
What are garbage tags?
What's that?
Garbage tags, what is that?
It's a red tag that they got in the office. If you got anything extra that's in your garbage.
Oh,
It doesn't fit in the dumpster.
Yeah. And get those tags, I think, for $1 or $2 or something. And he picks it up and all else.
Well, that works too.
Hey, Bill, how's it going?
it's cool.
Hi.
Where'd that one come from? Mine's color coded. Here's public copy
Jan,
ones.
Jan was handing those out.
These are all my notes up until now.
So this is, I wonder you got one of these, you know, this is.
Yeah, how do we end? Mine's color coded.
I don't think it was.
Oh, that's to attach, this is attachment A. I had a reason. I knew I had a reason.
I'm just here.
Nope, don't mind me. I knew what I was doing when I was printing and then I forgot. So I got you a little bit off, huh? You got
Yeah.
you up to 10.
Yeah, I like it.
I'll explain why.
Imagine.
Sometimes mistakes are good. Especially mistakes in your direction.
Yes.
I just made a miscalculation when I did your sick time.
Which one of these is attachment A?
All three of these combined is attachment A to the budget
Okay.
resolution, so that when we file the budget document, we have something that attaches to it. This goes in your resolution book. This is part of that resolution, whichever number it is, 491,
Or anyone?
refers to attachment A.
Okay.
And so yours is 8, and mine is 17, 18 pages. So whatever one you sign, this will be stapled to it, so I'll just go staple it real quick and then the whole piece. That was the one you asked about at the meeting.
Yeah, no, there was another one that came in, I did, thanks.
Jan said that, I printed it that night and stuck
Okay.
it in the box, knowing
Okay.
I'd be back.
Thank you, thank you,
And I don't even remember at this moment what it was, because I printed it that night.
not a problem, but I know where
I
it goes to.
probably cannot answer questions about it anyway without looking at the system.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. This is a town council meeting, budget agenda to hear the budget and finalize it tonight, so. I'll go ahead.
Turn it over to me.
Yeah, turn it over to you.
So what I gave you guys this time, and Tim, I apologize because you didn't get to see the first set, or at least not go over it with us, but what I gave you this time is essentially what you're gonna see every month in your council packets. I thought if we were gonna look at the fresh, final budget ready to adopt, we should look at it in a form that you're gonna see every single month. So that's why I didn't print it with the 4 years across it, because it gets to be a lot, and we kind of already covered that. So I went with the regular old format that you're gonna see every month in your council packets. So as we're kind of going down to see where everything shook out, you're gonna wanna look on the revenue one, you're gonna wanna look at the estimated revenue column. And on the expenditure one, which is highlighted orange at the top, you're gonna wanna look at the original appropriation column. Those are the actual line items that match up. Remember this big long one we were looking at? It matches up to that final budget column.
Okay.
So that's the difference in what you're seeing. I just got rid of the 4 years because we covered that, but I kept it in case we had questions. So I guess I'm gonna skip to the end, which is the yellow sheet. You can see I got you a little better in reserves. I don't remember, we were at 7.64. I got you up to 10.3. That was my mistake. I made a mistake in the payroll calculations. Remember how I said when you pay out sick time, you only pay out a quarter of it?
Right,
I budgeted to pay out 100% of it.
right.
I don't know why. As we were going through the meeting and I said it out loud, I thought to myself, did I do that right? And then I thought, I don't know, so I went on. But I went that night and checked, and I had miscalculated it.
Okay.
That gave you some money back, that got your reserves in a better place. So it was a really good error on our part.
I did that when I got home too, and I went, no, it went right now, so, but that's okay.
Yeah, it was all wrapped up in those payroll lines,
Yeah.
so that's why I couldn't look until at the meeting. I had to go see what I had done in the payroll spreadsheet of the budget prep program. So, but your other percentages didn't really change. I think the sewer went down just a little bit based on changes that we made. Or am I thinking the wrong way? 35, nope, it stayed about the same. The water went down a little
Yeah.
bit based on changes we made. So, you're okay. You're not terribly bad off. You could be worse. We already cut 34,000 and then some out of there to get you where you are. But as a general rule, that general fund needs to tighten its belt. I ran the numbers across several years of expenditures, and your general fund lost 77,000 last year, whereas the year before it gained 45,000, and the year prior to that it gained 1,800, and the year prior to that was 1,100. But that $77,000 loss of last year puts you at a net loss of 4 years of 28,825. That just cannot continue to happen. Your general fund, you're not going to get out of that 10% reserve range
Where we should be.
if you don't tighten your belt. So you really have to watch these budget reports every month.
Yeah.
Look and see where you're at. If you're 50% of the way through the year, you should be 50% of the way or less through your expenditures, and you should be 50% or more of your revenues. You really want to watch that every month, because if we don't end up better off, we're going to be back in this boat next year where you're scrounging to find money to get yourself in your reserve. And you don't want to be in that boat. You want to gain a
last year
little
was
each year.
Yeah, last year was a,
And there are anomaly years. I just, this is the only information I had to work with, so I just ran the numbers.
yeah,
But even as your total budget with enterprise funds factored in, and enterprise funds should always make money. That's why I don't generally factor them in. But if you do, hold on, I gotta find the right report. So I got a whole stack here. If you do the entire budget, last year you lost 53,000, the year before you lost 182,000, the year prior to that you gained 180, and then the year prior to that you lost 11,000. So over 4 years you've lost 66,150. That's gotta tighten up too. You can't lose money every year. You gotta bring in more than you spend. Which means, cause what you can bring in is pretty finite. I mean, it's kind of defined.
It's fixed.
And you can't, it's not like you can go, unless you're gonna do bake sales.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get much money anywhere else. So the only control you really have is on your expenditure side. So really be sure that you need everything you're buying. That's my advice, if you're asking me.
yeah.
So, that's just a couple of things I wanted to touch on. I don't know if you guys want me to go back through these line by line, if you wanna glance at them.
Did you make a note of both in the revenue and the expenditures where we made changes from at the last meeting?
Yes,
And those have been,
and that's in,
entered.
yes, that's in this
Okay.
white copy, if you would like it. So what I did, there's not so much on the revenue side, we've hardly changed anything on the revenue side, but in the expenditure, when I made a change, I noted it as, like, per the preliminary budget meeting, we decided blah, 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 whatever the change
Yeah,
was.
well, we moved it, in the end pumping, we moved it to 43,610.
Right,
instead
and all
of the-
those, yeah,
We moved some of
so,
those to water.
all those
Yeah.
zeros we talked about
Right.
seeing. Here, you know,
Yeah.
here's a page of them,
Yeah,
all zeros. We just got rid of all of those accounts.
yeah.
And that's part of why I didn't give you guys this one to look at this time, because there's a lot of pages of zeros now. And that's why I chose this one where you can just really look at, now you can see really truly what your final budget is. And so if you go to the, like to the water fund, which I separated the funds by page also, you can see at the bottom of page 5, under original appropriation, your total budget for that water fund is $181,326. It's right here, you're gonna see that every month, it's at the bottom of page 5. So, if you wanna see your general fund one, you can go to the bottom of page 2. It's $133,631. You know, these reports actually make it really easy to go, just look at a quick snapshot in time of what your budget is on the day this was printed. Now July's over, I printed this as of July, July's over, so this is an accurate snapshot of what happened in the month of July. What you paid for claims, what payroll went out. So, that's what you can see, the committed year-to-date line tells you what you spent year-to-date, and then the very first column, committed that month, tells you what you spent that month.
That's
So you wanna
gonna be
see-
easy to do
yeah.
snapshot.
Right,
Yeah, it gives you a really nice snapshot,
yeah.
so.
And it gives us,
Gives-
does it give us the percentage left or no?
Mhm.
That very last column
That's
is
the
percent
percentage.
committed.
Committed, okay.
So you subtract that from 100, that's what's left.
This is okay.
Yep, yeah, that's why I say if you're 50% of the way through your year and you have something on this orange one that's like 85%, you should probably find out why. Make
Yeah.
sure nothing else is coming out of there because you're like way gone, you know what I mean? So it's a really easy way to just look at it. And the budget resolution is gonna speak to this a little bit, and I wanna explain why. In there, it's gonna say that the mayor and council have the authority to move money within account and object codes. You can't move money between funds without a budget amendment, but between accounts and object codes, absolutely, you guys have full authority to do that anytime in the month you need. So for example, we budgeted $6,000 for my contract labor for the year. Hopefully we aren't gonna need all that. If I get finished and you have $4,000 left, you have $4,000 you can move somewhere else if you need it. So that's really nice that that budget
Does-
resolution
does that
typing
take
it
a
that
motion?
way. Yeah, you would just do it at a council
Okay.
meeting, yep. So just a motion and a vote, but you don't have to advertise it as a public hearing, you don't have to do a budget amendment and file it, nothing. It's just a motion and a vote.
Is it
It's
supposed
really
to be
easy.
on the agenda?
Ooh, that's a hope question. I'm not sure. I would think if you're gonna motion and vote, yes, it would need to be on the agenda. So I would say yes.
that money would just stay in general funds.
It has to stay in the general fund,
But you
but
can-
it could be moved to a different account, you know, say the audit took more than we thought and the general fund portion is gonna be more than the 10,000 we budgeted. Maybe you wanna put the 4,000 there. You can do that. It's allowable. So, and you'll hear when we read that budget resolution that we gave you guys that authority. And that we held you only to fund level standard when it comes to going over budget. So each of these, so when you look at the first 2 pages of the one highlighted orange at the top, each of these little sections, while you should be watching their percentage, that's not the percentage that matters. It's gonna be this fund total percentage
Right.
that really matters when it comes to the auditor checking, did you adhere to your budget? They're only gonna look at that fund total. So, and you can run this same report out of the system that'll just show the funds. It'll take all these accounts out, and it's just a nice 1-page report. That's a good one. I give that one to my council as well because I feel like they actually look at that one, whereas they don't look at this one. And they'll tell you so. They know they don't look at it, so I don't print the paper. I don't know, do you guys have any more questions?
I think the only thing that we actually wanted to, in the notes was, just moving some of those, taking some of those zero counts out, but, and then moving, I think we moved a couple of things into water and sewer and combined
Didn't you say those zero accounts will drop until the fourth year?
Right, they're gonna stay on your budget prep report
Yeah.
for another 3 years. So, and that's kind of okay because it gives you kind of an aggregate total of the whole fund. You know, so you can look back at 15, 16 and all of that'll still be included in there. You know what I mean? Or in
Yeah,
next year's case
it'll-
it'd be 16, 17.
It'll help us do this next year.
Right. And this really is a jumping off point. This is not gonna be what you guys have
No,
for,
this
what
will
your budget
evolve.
looks like in 2 or 3 years. Because yeah, you're gonna change it as it works for you. And that's appropriate. It should evolve into what you guys see as being your tool for running your finances.
Any other questions? Tim still with me?
Question in the crowd.
I have a question, and I know that you had mentioned this, that the wages were changing due to water, sewer, and general fund, and how you were
Splitting them out.
splitting them out.
Yeah.
We did
And-
change Jan's wages only, not everybody's, but Jan's, yeah.
Okay, and the splits on those are,
30, 30, 10.
Yeah, 30 water, 30 sewer, 10 garbage,
Right.
okay,
and 30 general fund.
Because she does most of her work in
Right.
water, sewer, and garbage, and then everything else that comes out of the administration is what she
Sure.
does on a daily basis as far as printing minutes and resolutions and crap like that, so, yeah.
And I actually was only gonna throw 50% into water, sewer, garbage, and the auditor is the one who said to me, he says, I'd bump that up to 70, you can justify that.
well, I understand that, but I did do some calling in several towns that were all comparable to Fromber, to find out how they did theirs. And there was some that were close
Like
to that,
Mhm.
but there was others that, we have a daily log. Our taxpayers, they don't wanna be paying out of their water fund when it
Sure.
shouldn't be coming out of its water fund. They don't wanna be paying out of the sewer fund when it shouldn't be coming out of the sewer fund.
You don't wanna get in the habit of changing your payroll lines certainly not on a pay
Yeah.
period basis. If a log is something that the mayor sees fit for, because the mayor oversees the employees, so if the mayor sees fit for Jen to keep a log, and she wants to do that, I would suggest keeping the log for a year.
Mhm.
Then reallocate next July as it shakes out. But
Yes.
because the auditor was very comfortable with 70% in water, sewer, and garbage, the 30, 30, and 10, I'm comfortable. Because the auditors are the ones who say, that's too much, that's too little, it's okay, it's not
This is a
okay.
red flag.
Yeah, so, and he was absolutely comfortable with that.
No,
Because I was gonna be conservative, just because that's how I roll.
Yeah.
But because the auditor was not on that same page with me, I went with his suggestion. Because frankly, your budget needed it.
Oh, no, and I totally understand it, but I also know that the two that did, and one of them, what they did is they did several months worth and just averaged that, and that's what they took.
Mhm.
The other one did a daily log, and they do it for their maintenance as well as their other, because of issues that they have had in the town. And I understand what you're saying, Kristen, believe me, I totally get it. But I also know that auditors are good at saying, it's kind of like your tax code is written one way. If you look at a waitress, it'll say they only have to declare 8.6% of their sales for tips, but then there's an and/or, and believe me, if you're waiting tables at the Waldorf, you don't want to be declaring 8.6% of your sales. You will be nailed. That's kind of, and so that's just, I get what you're saying, but I kind of have some concerns.
Well, for the past 12 years, I think, 11 years at least, we have always taken a percentage out of water, sewer, and garbage for wages. Those are enterprise funds, they're not tax-paid funds. We provide a service, the community pays for that service, so that it's not tax dollars or taxpayer funds. The
but-
taxpayer funds are like
Well, I understand that, but we're paying for a service and we want to know that our money is being spent appropriately.
But you don't get to go dictate how
No,
Northwestern
no, I'm
Energy
not-
pays
I'm
their
not gonna-
employees, and
yeah.
this is a utility the
Yeah.
same as that. That's why it's an
Yeah.
enterprise fund, and it's kept completely separate from those tax funds.
Right.
Because the same reason you don't get to tell MDU and Northwestern Energy what to do with their money, these enterprise
Yeah.
funds are the way they are. They're meant to make money. That's what you do with a
Yes.
utility. You
Mhm.
sell it to make money. That's where the money is for the
Right.
town of Farmer. That's where those wages needed to come from. Because they were making more money than was necessary, and the general fund was being severely hurt by it.
Yeah, depleted.
Yeah, so.
Right.
And in that, like I said, last year you lost 77,000. Some of that is that change in throwing all of the clerk's wages into that general fund.
Right.
It just shouldn't have been there. That wasn't an appropriate
Oh,
distribution.
No, I understand it shouldn't come all out of general.
Mhm.
Believe me, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying it would be something to look at. I mean, it's,
And that's what, like that preliminary meeting we had a couple weeks ago, that's what you would do next year and look at that and say, are we still happy with this? Do we like it? Is it where we want it to be? That's what those meetings are absolutely for.
So we did raise our mill levy.
No,
no.
we lowered our.
No,
You
because
lowered your real levy
for the
pretty
last- How many,
significantly.
for the last, how many years?
Since
Three.
2012 to 2013 fiscal
Right.
year, you've been over milling.
They've been
And I'm
over
sorry, I
there.
don't
So we
have the
had-
numbers in front of me of
I
how
was-
many
It was
mills you've
154
over
point
milled.
something, and it's now 129 something.
You were milling 154 mills, yes,
Right.
for the last 3 years in a row, and it's pretty rare. You better see that mill levy number change every year from here on out. Cause it will never stay to the decimal point same, ever.
Right.
It just doesn't, that's not the way it works. That's how I knew before I ever got into your stuff,
Something was goofy.
that most likely you had overmilled. Because the way I've seen it trend, and I spoke to some other towns and said, does yours trend like Bridger's trends? Cause this is what I see. They all trend the same. Yours was trending in the wrong direction. That's how I knew pretty much off the bat that you overmilled. But I did the legwork. I really did. I went back to Darla Erickson at the state, did your guys' budget document for fiscal year 2012. So
Yeah.
2011 to 2012, she did it. We knew for 100% certain it was right. I went all the way back to there, started there, and worked it forward. That's how I know for certain that you overmilled. I know to the exact number of mills and the exact dollar amount, which I can look up on my phone if you wanna know what they are. But that's how I know for certain you overmilled.
How are we getting that figure?
Last year I got it from the clerk in Red Lodge. So,
No, not the clerk.
well,
The
Angela.
commissioner
Yeah,
administrative
yeah.
assistant. Yeah, Lonnie and Red Lodge.
And you
did
got
that.
Yeah.
misinformation?
I got the bill that I put in last year that we passed.
And it was high,
That's
right?
what, yeah, it was 154
Yeah, cause you
point
used
something,
the numbers from the previous year, which the previous year was high. And the year before that was high.
and the year
So
It
they give
got
you a
wrong.
percentage of increase, or?
They
how
do, the state puts out what they call a levy comp form, a levy computation form.
Mhm.
It's an Excel spreadsheet.
Mhm.
And inflation and all kinds of things are factored in. You can go look at the square root of God knows what on their website if you wanna see where that sheet
Yeah.
comes from. But essentially you get an
Pretty
Excel
complicated.
spreadsheet. Yeah, somebody smart built that. Most of the cells are locked. They're all formula driven. Most of them are locked. There's 4 yellow cells that a town is allowed to fill in. The first cell is what your ad valorem tax from the previous year was. Now that's your actually tax assessed
Property
amount.
tax,
So
yeah.
in your yellow pages from last time,
Mhm.
on page 2, column 7, this one. It won't be on your ones I gave you today, but your yellow page from last time, that's your ad valorem tax. That's the actual tax you're gonna assess this year.
Okay,
So next year, we're gonna take this number, that's gonna be our very first number into that sheet.
into that equation.
Then you get a form from the Department of Revenue called your certified taxable value form.
Right,
You get some numbers off of here. You put in your total taxable value, which divided by 1,000 happens to be your mill value amount also. You put that in. And then you put in your